Thank you, thank you, thank you, Marilyn, thank you. What an amazing night and what an improbable journey. That's right. Well, I'm thankful. I just had a chance to speak with Governor Hogan, who shared his congratulations, and I want to thank him for his truly kind and compassionate call. So thank you, Governor Hogan, for your call. And I first want to start by all of you who are making tonight happen. The wait staff, the hotel staff, the security, our remarkable DJ Tons for keeping us going. And I also want to take a moment to thank all of you who made tonight happen. All right? The volunteers. The super volunteers, the ones who went and knocked on doors, you text banked, you put signs in your yards, you put signs in your neighbors' yards, even if they didn't ask for it. But you all worked. You worked and you took this election personally. Personally. And I am so grateful because you believed. You believed at a time when sometimes believing isn't easy. When our days are dominated by cynicism and mistrust. At a time when those of you, and frankly those of us, who hope to be part of the solution, are often told to wait our turn. Right? But you believed. You believe that in this moment, our state could be bolder. You believe that in this moment, our state could go faster. You believe that in this moment, our state would not wait its turn. And you believed in the son of an immigrant, a graduate of a 2-year college, a U.S. Army combat veteran, and a nonprofit leader who had never run for office before. And it's because you believed that I stand here humbled and ready to become the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland. It was your support, it was your sense of purpose that carried us across this state, all 24 jurisdictions from the western mountains to the eastern shore, from my birthplace of Montgomery County to my adoptive home of Baltimore City. Hey, Baltimore. And everywhere in between. I love you back. I love you back. And you know, and the thing is, when I look across this room tonight, what we see right here is we see Maryland, right? We see people from all backgrounds, from all walks of life, from all income levels. We see teachers. We see small business owners. We see nurses. We see union members. All of you who lent your voices and also gave your votes to this campaign. And who said the same thing. who all said with a collective voice that our time is now. And what we're seeing today is that in Maryland, we can come together. You know, I was telling somebody, you know a question I never once asked my soldiers? What's your political party? It never got brought up. That's right. We had one mission. And Maryland, you showed tonight that if we stand divided, we cannot win. But if we stand united, we cannot lose. I am so lucky to have such an amazing partner in this campaign in Aruna Miller, the Lieutenant Governor-elect of the state of Maryland. Aruna, it has been an absolute honor to go on this journey with you, my friend. An honor. And I tell you what, as she said, we are just getting started. We are just getting started. I am grateful above all to my family and for my family. What's up, y'all? We loud and we love that. That's how we do. But most of all, I am so grateful to my amazing wife, Dawn. And I gotta tell y'all, it feels so good to say this, the next First Lady of the state of Maryland. Dawn, you are my fuel, you are my motivation, you are my greatest protector. My greatest protector. And I gotta tell y'all, I love the way that the state is just totally falling in love with Dawn. I mean, she everywhere we go, everywhere we went, people were asking Dawn to attend their events and attend their rallies, and she eventually got so busy that she started telling people, like, listen, I can't make it, but can I send my husband? And to me and James. My first babies. I love you with everything in me. You are my heart and my soul. And I am so proud of you, and I'm completely in love with you. You are brilliant. You are kind. You are unaffected. And I want you to know something. I want you to know the same thing that I want every single child in this state to know. You are never in a room that you don't belong in. Oh no, oh I won't. To my mom and the new first mama of the state of Maryland, Vera Moore. I said, my mother went through trials that were unimaginable and unfair. But she taught her children to be unafraid. And when my mother told me, you can do anything, I believed her. I believed her. And if I can be half the parent and half the person that you are, Ma, I am doing all right. I love you and God bless you. And I am beyond grateful for the best campaign team that the state of Maryland has ever seen. This campaign team is simply the best. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. 16 months ago, we started from scratch. 16 months ago, what did kids say? We started from the bottom. And now we're here. We started from the bottom. This team is amazing. And to our remarkable team and its leadership, to our campaign manager, Ned Miller, to our chief of staff, Tisha Edwards, to our entire team, you led the charge, you led the way, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, I'm indebted to you, and I'm excited to keep working. Listen, I love this state, y'all. I love this state. This state has been so good to us. But, God bless you. But we know that not everybody in this state has been so lucky. When I was an Army captain, I led soldiers in combat in Afghanistan. We lived by a simple principle: leave no one behind. But for too long, Maryland, we are leaving too many of our family and our neighbors behind. And so during this campaign, many of you have told me about so many of the challenges that you're facing. And I want to let you know that I hear you. That I heard from Donna in Prince George's County, an educator who told me that she was more worried than ever before about the safety of her students and also for her own safety. On the Eastern Shore, I spoke with Michelle, who's been unemployed for over a year because the jobs that she's applying for need constant broadband, which her entire community does not have. In Baltimore, I met Sean, a security guard who was working the midnight shift and blowing his salary on Ubers because there was a lack of reliable public transportation. And in Western Maryland, amen. Oh, it's on its way, y'all. And in Western Maryland, I met Shannon. Shannon's a server who is struggling, even while working multiple jobs. And after our conversation, he told me that I had his vote, but he told me that he did have one ask. Don't forget about us. Shannon, if you're watching, I'm making the same promise to you today that I made back then. I will never forget about you. I will be thinking about you and all the people that we have met during this campaign every single day that I have the honor of serving as your governor. Because it is your dreams, it is your hopes, it is your lives, it is your futures that have fueled this entire campaign. So here is what the Moore-Miller administration is going to do. In our administration, we will work with police and communities to ensure public safety. And we will make sure that we are keeping these illegal guns and these violent offenders off of our streets. In our Maryland, you will feel safe in your own neighborhoods and you will feel safe in your own skin. That we will protect abortion rights and access. And we will empower women to make decisions about their own reproductive health. The decision to get an abortion is difficult. And that decision should be made between a woman and her doctor. That we will build a world-class education system, starting with free pre-K for every single child in need in the state of Maryland. And we will invest in apprenticeship programs and trade programs so that every Marylander, every young person knows that there is a pathway to their long-term economic viability and long-term economic success. We will be the first state in this country to offer a service year option to every single high school graduate. Because if we build a true spirit of service in our state, it is service that will help to save us. Our Maryland will be more competitive and more equitable, and we are not going to choose between those two things. We can and we will do both. And we will make this state a true hub of innovation and economic growth. A place where small businesses can thrive. A place where small businesses can thrive, but also labor unions are strong. And we're not going to choose. A place where people want to come to and build and grow and retire and age in place and age in dignity. Last week, my grandmother passed away. My grandmother passed away at age 95. Her name was Winnell Thomas, but we all affectionately called her Mama Win. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate name tonight than Mama Win. And I know that despite us losing her last week, that tonight, she's got the best seat in the house. Ella nació en Cuba. She was born in Cuba. She immigrated to this country from Jamaica. And she taught public schools for nearly 40 years. She came here to build a life, but she ended up building a legacy. She also helped take care of me and my family after my father died, because he didn't get the health care that he needed. My father could have been saved, but he was left behind. So you see, this is personal to me. I have seen how a society with broken policies can leave its people broken too. Leave no one behind is not just a slogan. It is a value statement. And it is a value that will guide me as your next governor. Our administration will fight every single day for every single Marylander and make sure they have a chance to succeed, and this is our time to do it and to make it happen. But before I do close, I do want to take a moment just to speak about history. You know, this state is blessed because we've had a lot of firsts tonight. Aruna Miller, the first immigrant and the first woman of color in the state's history to serve as lieutenant governor. Brooke Learman, our first female comptroller. Anthony Brown, our first black attorney general. And soon come. Soon come. And it is and it's not lost on me that I've made a little history tonight myself as well. But I also know that I wasn't the first one to try. This is just more proof that progress is not inevitable, but progress is possible in the state of Maryland. And I am truly humbled to be part of this legacy. But Arun and me, that's not why we got into this race. The history that matters most to us is the history that we and the people of this state are going to make together over the next 4 years. Now, we know these results are still rolling in, right? But it is clear, y'all gave us a mandate. And that mandate is for a vision for a healthier and a wealthier Maryland. And something else is very clear, too. True patriotism is alive and well in Maryland, and it is alive and well in the United States of America, too. I grew up in a family of people who loved this country, even when the country didn't always love him back. And my entire life has taught me that patriotism does not mean waving a flag around. It doesn't mean telling our neighbors that we're better than them. Patriotism isn't a boast. It isn't self-righteous. You cannot love your country if you hate half of the people in it. Real patriotism means bringing people together. It means lifting people up. It means improving each other's lives. Patriotism means knowing that this country is great, but if we work together, we are going to make it even greater because more people will benefit from that. So, tonight, because of y'all, a message has been sent. So tonight, we celebrate. But tomorrow, we get to work. Thank you, Maryland. God bless y'all. It is our time. We will get this done. God bless you all, and thank you so much. Thank you.
It is Election Day in the United States, the balance of power in Washington.
It's about what people think of the first 2 years of the president and the president's party in Congress.
And Maryland.
This is a solidly Democratic state, and there's no reason to expect it's going to change radically.
Is at stake. From Congress to governor to county executives and questions on the ballot that affect you.
Fox 45 News is covering the races right down to the ballot, bringing you up-to-the-minute updates. This is your Vote 2022 coverage.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala.
I'm Kai Jackson. The polls have been closed for 2 hours and the results are coming in.
That's right. We have extensive team coverage tonight. Our reporters are following some of the biggest races across the state. Let's take a look at some of those big races impacting the whole state, starting with the governor's race. Of course, you just heard Wes Moore's acceptance speech. He has claimed the office. He is the projected winner with 60% of the vote. That's with 64% of the precincts reporting over Republican Dan Cox.
And let's take a look at the race for state comptroller in Maryland. Brooke Learman, Democrat, appears to be taking this over Republican Barry Glassman. Former Harford County Executive Brooke Learman, of course, a delegate from Baltimore City, with 61% of the vote.
And we heard her speak as well earlier tonight. In the race for Attorney General Anthony Brown, who was also with the Wes Moore campaign and spoke out tonight, is the projected winner there with 64% of the vote over Michael Peruka. Now we're going to go to Keith Daniels. He is with the Republican Dan Cox gubernatorial campaign. Keith, have you heard from Dan Cox yet tonight?
In the field and on the ground.
Well, Mary, not yet. Again, we're live at the Doubletree Hilton Hotel here in Annapolis. They have been watching Wes Moore speak about his presumptive win, but they have yet to recognize the AP calling Wes Moore as the winner of the Maryland governor's race. On the stage now is Dan Cox's daughter, Patience Faith Cox. She said to the supporters here not long ago, I'm going to paraphrase, don't pay any attention to what the media is showing you on the monitors. This race is not over. We're waiting to hear from Dan Cox himself. We've been listening to workers in the campaign for the time being. Again, Dan Cox expected to come out here momentarily. The door is opening there on the left. That's not him. Again, we're waiting for him to come on stage here. His daughter, recognizing people who have worked in the campaign. Now, we should tell you that on the campaign trail, Dan Cox refused to say whether he would accept the election results, so we are waiting for his response. Meantime, staff workers and even his lieutenant governor running mate all refusing to speak on camera at this time. They're going to wait until Dan Cox take the stage. When he does, we'll bring it back to you.
Excellent, Keith. Thank you.
All right, let's go now to Johnny Olszewski, who's running for another term for county executive. He was challenged as well. Let's listen in real quick.
Grateful for the outpouring of support we have seen during this campaign. Tonight, friends, we gather from all over Baltimore County, this region, and our beloved state to celebrate our success and to proclaim that after analyzing key results, we fully expect to win this race. I have been overwhelmed with gratitude for all of the encouragement given to us, which I know is not just a reflection of the strong campaign which we ran, but because of what we all have done together these past 4 years. With you, we have made this the most transparent, accessible, and accountable government in Baltimore County's history. We have invested more in public education than any other administration. We have air-conditioned all of our schools, and we are ending the use of trailers. Together, we have invested holistically in public safety to make our neighborhoods safer, and we have made sustainability and equity key pillars of our work. And in all of it, Baltimore County, we have placed you at the forefront of all that we do. We engage with you, we are honest with you, and we are tackling problems big and small with you. And now, with the continued confidence and trust of Baltimore County voters, we continue this work in the years ahead. I am so honored, grateful.
There's Johnny Olszewski. He's claiming victory. It looks like he will get a second term. He's claiming victory over Republican Pat McDonough in the county executive race in Baltimore County. He is speaking at the Charles Village Pub in Towson. We'll keep our eye on that as the numbers continue to flow in there. And we're also keeping our eye on the race for Anne Arundel County executive. This is a live look from the Waterfront Hotel in Annapolis. Riel Creighton is there with Stuart Pittman's campaign. We're going to check in with her soon, but let's look at the numbers because this was a hotly contested race. Jessica Hare, the Republican in this race, spent more than $1 million on advertising. I'm sure you saw that if you were watching local TV in the last couple of months. Right now, she is in the lead. That is with 29% of precincts reporting, but this is one of those races that may take a day or so to get final numbers in. Yeah, she's mounting a really serious charge there, Mary. It's not all done, but if I was... Real quickly, Stuart Pittman is coming to the mic here. The music is playing. Okay, we're going to take him a little bit later. But yeah, the Stuart Pittman camp is probably concerned about where this stands right now. You would think, again, he's the incumbent, and she mounted quite a bit of a challenge right now. And let's look at Howard County right now. Calvin Ball is the current county executive. Alan Kittleman is the former Howard County executive who was trying to make a comeback here. But right now, Calvin Ball is ahead, some 57% of the precinct, 63% reporting, 57% of the vote. Calvin Ball has. So we're going to go back to that as well. And that's a look at a campaign headquarters on the right. That's right. In Baltimore City, residents have a few ballot questions to decide on. Maxine Stryker's keeping an eye on all of them and the balance of power in Washington as well. Maxine?
Yeah, more than a few questions that they had to answer tonight, and many of them looking on track to pass now, if not all of them. Let's start with taking a look at what's coming in for question K. Right now, 72% have voted for, 28% against, with 83% reporting. So an overwhelming majority there with question K, which seeks to establish a two-term limit for city elected officials, including the mayor, comptroller, city council president, and the council members. It would limit officials from holding office for more than 8 years during any 12-year period. Only applies to city officials, but does not limit politicians from running for a different office after reaching the limit on their previous position. Supporters say the limits, they'd usher in some new ideas. Opponents argued that term limits bring stability to the office. If it passes, which it looks like it will, it would apply to elected officials in 2024. Meanwhile, important to note that Council President Nick Mosby is pushing for council members to be able to earn a pension for life after serving just 8 years in office, or 2 terms. That's a change from the current plan of 12 years in office. Mosby says it's all because of this term limit proposal that is on the ballot tonight. Let's take a look now at question H. That's BPT's local control. Voters deciding whether to bring Baltimore Police Department back under local control with question H. Right now we're seeing 83% of for this and 17% against, again with 83% reporting at the moment, so majority there. The Baltimore Police Department, they have functioned as a state agency for a very long time, more than a century, meaning that City Hall has not really had the authority to regulate the Baltimore Police Department. They must seek approval from the Maryland General Assembly when it comes to policy changes, but it looks like that will not be the case any longer. And then question I, the Inspector General, this would change the membership of the advisory board that oversees the Baltimore City Inspector General, Isabel Mercedes Cumming. Right now, we have 86% for that and 14% against, with 84% reporting. Again, a majority voting for this. That panel right now, it consists of multiple City Hall elected officials who ultimately could be the subjects of investigations by Inspector General Cumming. She has criticized the makeup of the board and the conflict of interest it represents. So a yes vote would change the board to consist ultimately of 11 city residents and no elected officials. Let's take a look at some of those statewide questions that are on the ballot now. Let's just scroll down here. We are looking for the legalizing cannabis, and right now that has passed for recreational use for adults with a 65.4%. This means that marijuana use and simple possession for adults over the age of 21 will be legal. It has been approved, meaning that the possession of up to 1.5 ounces of recreational marijuana, if you're 21 and older, will be legal, and it would expunge your past simple marijuana convictions if that was the only charge that you had in the case. Those changes will take place July 1st of next year. This was a big one that a lot of people were paying attention to on their ballots tonight. Kai?
All right, Maxine, thank you. We again have our panel of experts joining us tonight, including political analyst John Deedy, David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, and former Maryland Attorney General and former candidate himself for governor, Doug Gansler.
Yes, thank you all for being here tonight. John, I want to start with you. We all heard Wes Moore and his acceptance speech. Wow, what a speech. Your impression?
It was so Obama-esque, it wasn't funny. And that's in a positive way. I mean, Maryland, we should enjoy Wes Moore while we can, because we may not have him that long. I mean, that speech just hit every sheet of music perfectly. It was pitch perfect. And I was texting back with my wife, and without prompting her, my wife Patricia basically said, this was Obama-esque. And when you think about what he was doing, he's setting a tone for what could happen next year. If Joe Biden doesn't run, he could be one of the first party people look at to say, you need to get in this race.
And I think somebody's probably already in his ear at the end of his speech. He brought up patriotism. It was sort of a national platform that he's sort of unveiling already.
You'll hear some of those same words he said tonight, probably in 2 years.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Doug Gansler. Doug, your impression of what you heard from our governor-elect Wes Moore tonight.
Well, I think it was very Wes Moore-esque and very biographical. He spoke for 25, 26 minutes. 3 of those minutes were addressing issues in Maryland, and the rest was very biographical, very mesmerizing in terms of being a speaker. And yes, this is the first day of his presidential election. I think, you know, for most people, though, this was a very anticlimactic night. This election ended the day Kelly Schultz lost the Republican primary. So really everything we've seen tonight is sort of just playing out the string. And I think it's going to be interesting as he gets to work tomorrow on where we're going to go. He's been running on a platform of leave no one behind, equity in Maryland. He's going to have, you know, obviously the thing that should jump out at a lot of people watching that stage tonight was the diversity. This was a victory for diversity. It's something that the Democrats truly and strongly believe in and practice what they preach. I mean, we are looking at a state right now with an African-American woman Speaker of the House, an African-American treasurer, an African-American governor, an African-American attorney general, and a woman of color as lieutenant governor. So there's a real opportunity ahead for this administration, and hopefully they'll succeed. Maryland needs it.
Okay, Doug Gansler, former Maryland Attorney General and candidate for governor himself. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
And our coverage of Vote 2022 continues. We're going to head back to the Marriott waterfront downtown Baltimore and Harbor East, where the Wes Moore campaign and other top Democratic candidates are.
Yeah, Mackenzie Frost is there live. Mackenzie, Mary and I have covered elections for years. This has got to be the earliest a campaign, especially a winning campaign, has wrapped up.
I know, Mary and Kai, that's right. We saw the race come across Twitter, called by the Associated Press. I think the timestamp on that tweet was 8:01. That was pretty early, and I think it took everyone here by surprise as well. People were still waiting to see what happened. When the tweet was posted up on the screen behind me, the crowd in here went wild. They erupted in applause and cheers, and then it was a victory speech after victory speech as all of the Democrats who were at the top of the ticket came out and addressed the crowd. But really, when Wes Moore, the governor-elect, came out, he made it a point to say that the history of tonight was not lost on him and the entire campaign. He said that he realizes his part in this historic election for the state of Maryland, becoming the first black governor to be elected, and really running through some of the priorities that he says he wants to see in a Moore Miller administration. He talked about crime, which we know in Baltimore City is top of mind for voters. We'll have to see how his plans really become reality. But he also talked about unity, coming together as a state. Here's what he said about that.
We had one mission, and Maryland, you showed tonight that if we stand divided, we cannot win. But if we stand united, we cannot lose.
The governor-elect, they were talking about that, and he also said that he hears the mandate from voters. He realizes that the people who picked him on their ballots today and in the days leading up to today, he realizes that they have picked him because of the promises that he's made on the campaign trail, and he says that tonight is a night for celebration, but tomorrow really begins the work. And we know that the governor right now, Governor Larry Hogan, called Wes Moore around 8:15 this evening to congratulate him. Governor Hogan says that he expects to meet with Wes Moore and his team in the coming days, vowing for a smooth transition. But we also know that the other Democrats here, Brooke Learman, she's the expected as we continue to see. The race has not been called, but she came out claiming victory tonight. Same with Attorney General Anthony Brown, who says he's claiming victory. That, again, that race has not yet been called, but they're expected to see a victory. Mary and Kai?
All right, Mackenzie, thank you so much for reporting from the Wes Moore campaign.
All right, another big race. Everybody's watching that for Howard County Executive. That one was a tight one. He was going up against, Calvin Ball was going up against Alan Kittleman.
That's right. Let's listen in to Calvin Ball as he speaks out tonight. He is the projected winner in this race.
And I just want to note that, of course, education funding was on the ballot. Support for our public safety was on the ballot. Being environmental leaders was on the ballot. Ensuring that we respect a woman's right to choose was on the ballot. But this victory notes that there were other things on the ballot. Character was on the ballot. Perseverance was on the ballot. Resilience was on the ballot. When they came at us for so many things, spreading lies, rumors, attacking my family, attacking many of the people in this room,
All right, a glitch in the feed there,
Just
Calvin Ball, right, and he is leading this race to Alan Kittleman, a rematch of what had happened before in this race.
And Calvin Ball's normally reserved. I sense a little bit since he won this, and our panel might want to jump in this. He's a little upset.
I've never seen that
I've
either.
never seen him like this. He's felt like he was attacking, and more so his family, and I guess some of his staff members. And might be time for scoring some, for settling some scores tonight in his victory speech, as it were. Exactly. At least it appears that he may be ahead.
All right, we are going to continue to look at some of these county executive races. Again, we usually focus on the gubernatorial races, but that is a done deal in the state of Maryland tonight. Let's go to Riel Creighton. She's in Annapolis with the Stuart Pittman campaign. Riel?
Yeah, Kai and Mary, you can probably hear there's really a jubilant atmosphere in the room behind me, even though there is very little information at the moment about what is actually happening in this race in Anne Arundel County, because very little of the results have been reported in this race. But so far tonight, they say they're feeling good because at the Pittman campaign, rather, because they say that a larger proportion of Democrats turned out than even they were expecting in that early and mail-in voting. And Stuart Pittman from the podium tonight saying this: he can do the math, and there is not a path to victory for his opponent. We did also talk to Jessica Hare earlier tonight. She was saying they had the momentum coming in tonight because they were up in their own internal polling, but you just heard from the Pittman campaign, they feel like there is truly no way that this race could turn out any differently, but they want to get those votes counted. They say they're preparing actually for what could be a very long night, even a long week, because of how long it will take for all of those early and mail-in votes to be counted in this race. So we may not have results they're expecting for several days. Reporting in Annapolis tonight, Rielle Creighton, Fox 45 News.
And that's, of course, a race we will watch closely as the results continue to update tonight. Well, we know this election is critical in determining who holds the power in Washington, and if President Biden is boosted for his next 2 years of office, or if he becomes limited in what he can do.
That's right. All 435 House seats up for grabs. So are 35 Senate seats.
Sinclair Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman joins us live now with a look at where the balance of power stands right now. Scott, we've been so focused on these local races. Bring us up to date about what's going on in the rest of the country.
Yeah, sure thing, Marianne. Kai. So let's begin with the House. Kai just mentioned it, all of those seats up for grabs, 435. The night began with Democrats on top, 220 to 212. So what's happened so far? Starting to fill in here. Republicans almost 100. They're 98. Democrats 56. That's still a lot of white seats there that need to get some color in there. Whether it's going to be blue or red, we don't know just yet. But it gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're dealing with. And then over on the Senate side, of course, we began 50-50. Tiebreaker goes to Democrats because Vice President Harris then gets the gavel. So what are they looking at this moment? 42-41 Democrats. So simple math will show you there that we've still got 17 outstanding seats here, and Republicans just need to add 10 to their column. They would get 51. They would then have control of the upper chamber here. And so let's take a look at some of the Senate races right now that are going to be the tipping point one way or the other in that battle over the Senate. How about Georgia? What a race going on right now between Herschel Walker, the former football star, against Raphael Warnock, the current senator, the Democrat, who just won that seat 2 years ago. Can he hold on? Well, Herschel Walker found a lot of momentum from President Trump, from Republicans in the state that were trying to swing it back. Remember, Biden won Georgia. He flipped that, as well as both Senate seats flipped to the blue side. Can they bring it back? It's going to be a real battle. Here's the thing. Herschel Walker has had to try and put some Teflon to his game because he's been hit with so many allegations, really scandalous stuff, whether or not it's someone who says he's a pro-life candidate but then has been accused by more than one woman of supporting the idea or encouraging them to get an abortion, perhaps even paying for one. Again, allegations he denies, but nonetheless difficult for him. He continues to get support from the Republican Party. He continues to perhaps be buoyed by another race, the governor's race with Brian Kemp, who's doing quite well against Stacey Abrams. So that's one that may be a deciding factor if Republicans can take back a seat that Democrats won last time around. And then how about Pennsylvania? One of the most expensive races in the country. John Fetterman, the Democrat lieutenant governor, he's trying to fill a seat that currently is in Republican hands. You've got Pat Toomey, who is retiring as a senator there. Mehmet Oz, the TV celebrity doctor, decides he's going to swoop in. According to Democrats, they call him a carpetbagger, say he came down from New Jersey, doesn't really associate or relate to what Pennsylvanians are going through with a very tough economy. So he's been accused of not truly being someone who can understand the plight of the average Pennsylvanian, whereas John Fetterman is under criticism because he suffered a stroke right as he was given this nomination, and they want to know if he is indeed up to the task. After that debate, by the way, where he really kind of showed what effects it was having on him, only 3% of voters said it was going to change their mind. So that's where we stand when we look at the national map. These are all the battleground states. On the Senate side, we're keeping a very close eye on. Mentioned Georgia, mentioned Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, obviously a little bit interesting, although Democrats probably hold on there. Ohio's a big tough one that right now Republicans look like they're in decent shape. And then Nevada and Arizona, when we talk again, we should focus on those because out west you've got a couple real battles as well. Mary and Kai.
I was just asking about those two states. Scott Thuman reporting for us from the nation's capital. Thank you. Well, stay with us. Fox 45 News. Our election coverage will continue throughout the night.
That's right. As we head to break, by the way, let's take a look at some of the other races across the state. Stay with All right, welcome back to Fox 45 News coverage of Election Day. Right now, we're looking at this in Baltimore City. Question K is term limits, establishing 2 term limits for the city mayor, the comptroller, council president, and council members beginning in 2024. Right now, 72% are for Question K, 28% against. It looks like this has passed. Let's bring in John Didi right now. John, what are your thoughts about Question K? There was a big campaign about this. What will this mean for voters in Baltimore City?
It's going to expand the menu of options for voters as far as here's some more choices. It's going to give voters an opportunity to maybe select candidates who couldn't run before because you had an entrenched incumbent who had name identification or a war chest. So that's going to help things in a lot of ways, open up the political system, which I think is a good thing. Expanding the options is very healthy in any democracy.
Will this take the pressure off of candidates from getting in office and then months later worrying about re-election?
It'll take a little pressure off of them. Also, it'll put them in a situation, okay, the clock is ticking. I got X amount of time to do something and put some points on the board, get the pelts out there.
Right.
And I think that's going to help things too. So I think you're going to have government speed it up a little bit. There's going to be a stronger sense of urgency. I've got to get something done.
Well, voters in Baltimore City also overwhelmingly said yes to question I, and David Williams with the Taxpayer Protections Alliance also is here talking with us tonight. What does this mean? A new advisory board will be in place.
Well, this is fascinating because you have Question K that's taken away power from the city council. You have term limits. Now you have Question I that's taken power away from the city council and the city council president, that they get to put people on the advisory board and make this an advisory board of the people, of the citizens. 7 people in the city will now be on this advisory board. The city council has lost a lot of power tonight, and it's going back to the people. So I find this fascinating that these two questions really are connected.
So interesting. Let's go to a statewide issue now, legalizing recreational marijuana. Doug Ganser, can you speak to that? It looks like voters, it wasn't
I'm trying to figure out who was against this one.
Well, but it wasn't a landslide. I think it was 36% last one were against it. So there were folks who were against it, Kai.
I guess so, Mary.
Well, look, yeah, this has been a long time coming. It's a sequential thing. We started with medical marijuana, and we had some issues and hurdles implementing that in the General Assembly. The most sort of notable was the lack of diversity in terms of to whom the license went. They fixed that. As we go forward, I think this is a great issue. People are very much in favor of it. There's no stopping it. I think it's a national issue where cannabis is going to be legalized, and you know, I think that's a good thing. In particular, for law enforcement, you're not going to be arresting people of color in particular and having them spend time in jail because they had some pot on them. It really crosses economic lines, socioeconomic lines, race lines. This is not an issue where one type of group of people were for it. Kind of everybody, the majority of people were for it, and now it's going to pass. So it's going to be all in the implementation.
Doug, hold that thought. We have something else to go to right now.
That's right. Dan Cox is speaking, and we're going to go to his speech right now. Let's listen in.
We're seeing some amazing numbers. Let me just
speech.
run down them real quick. You've already seen these, probably. The Eastern Shore is rocking it for us. I am so proud and honored. My wife's home county of Dorchester looks like she's picking up almost 65% of the vote down there. So, and all across the state, we're doing very, very well. High numbers. I mean, I think I saw Garrett was close to 80% for us. So here's where it stands. It's just a very possible situation with the votes that still need to be counted, that if we pull off about 60 to 65% of those, that we can still pull this race. Very, very, very possible, because every vote from here out, that's right, every vote from here out are votes that were mostly cast today. So, but I'm not going to lie to you, this is a difficult race. We're not doing as well as I had hoped in places like Baltimore County. So it's very, very tough. This is a tough road ahead. And so I don't want to give you some false hopes to stay here for the rest of the night. I am excited to continue to watch the votes to be counted, all the votes. And we will have a further update, and I want everybody to enjoy the evening and know that there is, no matter the outcome, there is no doubt that you made history, and that we're making history, and we will never, ever surrender our Bill of Rights, and that flag will not dim. So enjoy the evening. I wish you all well, and we'll have more updates as soon as we are able. So God bless you.
All right, I stand corrected. That is Dan Cox speaking from his campaign headquarters. Not a concession speech at all. He is still waiting.
No, it was not.
He is still waiting for numbers to come in until he does that.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Stay with us. Fox 45 News. Our election coverage will continue throughout the night. As we head to break, we're going to take a look at some of the other races across the state. Good evening. Welcome back. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. The polls have closed for 3 hours. Results are now rolling in.
That's right. And we have extensive team coverage tonight. We have live crews following some of the biggest races across our state. Let's take a look at some of those big races impacting our state, starting with the governor's race. Wes Moore is the projected winner in the gubernatorial race. He's Governor-elect Wes Moore. He made an acceptance speech not long ago over Republican Dan Cox.
Now, in the race for state comptroller, Brooke Learman appears to be edging this out over Barry Glassman, former Harford County executive.
That's right. In the race for Attorney General, we also heard a victory speech tonight from former Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown with 65% of the vote there over Republican Michael Peruka.
Now, Mackenzie Frost has been at the Wes Moore campaign downtown in Baltimore all night.
That's right. We're going to go to her right now. Big night down there, Mackenzie, for all the Democrats, as we now really will have one party rule again in Maryland.
Yeah, that's right, Mary and Kai. You know, I just spoke with the Senate President, Bill Ferguson, and I asked him about that question because I said, how do you govern? And are you concerned about any perspectives or ideas, given the fact that we're seeing a one-party rule? He says just because the state will be governed by one party doesn't mean that everyone will be on the same page. Some ideas that we heard from the governor-elect tonight includes his vision for the state. He talks about inclusion, noting the historic nature of tonight's victory for him and really the Democrats up and down the ballot this evening. The governor-elect also outlined some of his priorities that he wants to tackle, including some big issues that hit very close to home for the people living in Baltimore City.
We will work with police and communities to ensure public safety. And we will make sure that we are keeping these illegal guns and these violent offenders off of our streets. In our Maryland, you will feel safe in your own neighborhoods, and you will feel safe in your own skin.
So how Moore will plan to make that campaign promise reality, we'll have to wait and see, especially as the General Assembly begins to start plotting their plans when they return to Annapolis in January. But really one of the other things that the Moore campaign outlined tonight is coming together as one Maryland. He says that he takes the victory tonight as a mandate to make sure that everyone feels included and everyone feels like they are on board and agreeing with what's happening in the state, something he says he doesn't take lightly, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. We're live downtown. Mackenzie Frost, FOX45 News.
All right, Mackenzie, thank you. We are going to go to Moore's opponent. Dan Cox did not concede tonight. He's still waiting to get the final numbers. And let's go to Keith Daniels as he gets set up there to speak with us. Keith?
Well, Mary, we just tried to position ourselves to talk to Dan Cox. He came in, he spoke briefly to his supporters. You may see many of them behind me. We thought we were going to be able to talk to him. I just spoke to his daughter, Patricia Faith Cox. She's kind of coordinating everybody with her dad to speak to him. He just walked out this door here. They tell me that he's meeting with his staff now and won't be able to talk to us, at least momentarily. We thought we were going to grab him just when he walked off the stage here, but he was quick. He left. He did tell his supporters that this race is not over, in his words. It's not over. He says he's waiting until every vote is counted before a decision is made. As you mentioned earlier, this was no concession speech that we heard from Dan Cox about 10 minutes ago. He got up, he said the numbers are slowly coming in. He did acknowledge that, in his words, he did not do as well as he thought he could do, as he thought he would do in Baltimore County. He told his supporters that they might as well just go home because he's going to wait until every vote is counted before he comes back with an update. We're live now in Annapolis at the Dan Cox campaign. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Keith, thank you. Well, in Baltimore City, residents had just a few ballot questions to decide on. I think Baltimore City's ballot was 3 pages long.
Oh, my goodness, I believe you, Mary. Maxine Stryker is keeping an eye on all of those ballot questions and the balance of power in Washington as well. Maxine?
Yeah, certainly a lot of questions, starting with question K, which is term limits in Baltimore City. It seeks to establish a 2-term limit for city elected officials, including the mayor, comptroller, city council president, and council members. It would also limit officials officials from holding office for more than 8 years during any 12-year period. Right now, we have 72% with 97% reporting, 72% for, 28% against. It would not limit city officials from running for another office after reaching the limit on their previous position. Supporters, they say the limits would bring new ideas. Opponents say it brings term limits. They bring stability to the office. If passed, which it certainly looks like it will, with 97% reporting, this will go on for elected officials in 2024. Meanwhile, important to mention, President Nick Mosby is pushing for council members to be able to earn a pension for life after serving 8 years in office. That is a change from the current plan of 12 years in office. He says it's all because of this right here, question K on the ballot. Then there is question H, which is all about local control of the Baltimore Police Department. Voters deciding whether to bring Baltimore Police Department back under local control with this question. Right now, 83% reporting for this, 17% against. Again, we have 97% reporting, so certainly looks like this will pass as well. The Baltimore Police, they have functioned as a state agency for more than a century, so City Hall has not had the authority to fully regulate the Baltimore Police Department. They must seek approval from the Maryland General Assembly when it comes to policy changes, but it doesn't look like that will be the case any longer. Then there is question I, which would change the membership of the advisory board that oversees the Baltimore City Inspector General, Isabel Mercedes Cumming. Those numbers also overwhelming majority for tonight with 86% and 14% against. Right now, that panel consists of multiple City Hall elected officials who could ultimately be the subject of investigations by the Inspector General. She's criticized the makeup of the board and the conflict of interest it represents. This yes vote, it will change the board to consist of 11 city residents and no elected officials. Another big measure on the ballots tonight, if I can get this to click here, is recreational marijuana, which has passed with 65.5% of the vote. This means that simple possession for the adults over age 21 will be legal. Right now, that is a misdemeanor. So this yes vote will legalize the possession of up to 1.5 ounces of recreational marijuana if you're 21 and older, and it would expunge your past simple marijuana convictions if that was the only charge in the case. You also will be able to grow 2 plants on your property as long as it's not in public view. Again, that is 65.5% reporting, an overwhelming majority. Not really a surprise. This is what the polls indicated as we headed into tonight. This will begin to take place July 1st of next year. Guys.
All right, Maxine, thank you. What, are marijuana plants offensive or something if somebody sees them in your window? We do have a panel of experts joining us right now, weighing in on these results as they come in.
We are trying to tiptoe into this arena.
I guess so. Clearly,
okay.
Right?
Let's
Clearly
just go from there. They actually do have a lot to figure out with recreational marijuana.
It is brand new,
we have Virginia and D.C. that have it, so
yes.
we'll see. We're going to start with David Williams and question I. Voters overwhelmingly want an independent advisory board. What will it mean for the person who holds that office right now, Isabel Mercedes Cumming?
Absolutely critical to have an independent Inspector General Advisory Board. Right now, the City Council President can appoint 4 members to this advisory board, 4 out of 7. Now, if Isabel Cumming or the IG is investigating someone, and maybe it's Nick Mosby, maybe it's someone else in the City Council or an elected official, huge conflict of interest to have them. And we have seen this play out in real time the last year and a half, where they have questioned her and gone deep into questions they shouldn't be asking her. 3 functions of the advisory board: come up with the budget, do her annual evaluation, and then pick the next IG. I think it was last summer where there was a 2-hour hearing, and they were grilling Isabel Cumming about how she numbers her reports and this and that.
And her salary, I think.
Yes.
Something, yes, it was
and she doesn't get to decide her salary.
Right.
But they were asking her about that, and that's totally out of the purview. And listen, Isabel Cumming, the whole IG's office, not just Isabel, but the whole IG's office, they've identified tens of millions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse in this city. Critical to have that watchdog. Not every Inspector General is that strong, so Baltimore should feel very lucky to have this IG that's so strong. Let's make the advisory board, and the people have spoken overwhelmingly. Let's have this advisory board also independent.
Yeah, that big issue recently, Mary, with that vendor who hadn't been paid, and we had chemicals that weren't going to get into water and everything like that that we needed for water, for safe drinking water. All right, let's move on to the issue of question K. For that, I'm going to get John Dede in here, hopefully Doug Gansler as well. Question K, John, what are your thoughts about that?
wasn't surprised that it passed. Most citizens, when you ask them how they feel about term limits, they generally support them. And I think the opportunity to do this was there for voters. And I think what really kind of pushed this was what happened, the shady deal that was worked out involving Nick Mosby as far as let's change the pension rules. And almost him saying out in the open that basically, hey, we're doing this because of Question K. Yeah. And I think what it turned off voters is this. A lot of voters don't have pensions. And when they let you go, it's a cardboard box and a security guard watching over you. And all of a sudden, voters are saying, wait a minute. Now they're going to get a pension for 8 years? I've been with this company for 25 years, 15 years, whatever.
Well, the first responders who had their situation, their alignment changed.
Worse, because the fire and the police people are going to yell. And this is why I think Mayor Scott needs to consider a veto, because it's not going to help him if he runs for re-election and he's got the police and the fire people mad at him because of their pension cuts that they've had to go through. And I think citizens are going to react very negatively if this deal gets approved.
I want to ask Doug Ganser about Question K and term limits. Is there a disadvantage to term limits, having people who are inexperienced more now rotating into some of these positions?
I don't think so. I think, you know, whether we like it or not, 90-some-odd% of incumbents win elections locally and statewide and nationally, and I think it's a good thing to have turnover. I think people don't get lazy in their jobs when they're there for a shorter period of time. You get a fresh set of eyes looking at issues. You get more sort of diversity in the sense of socioeconomic diversity, more ethnic diversity. You get new people with new ideas in there. So I think it's a great thing, and people ought to embrace it.
And I think they have. It's passed. So at least in Baltimore City?
It seems so, right? All right. Doug, thank you. No, we appreciate it. Yeah. Stay with Fox 45 News. Our election coverage will continue throughout the night. As we head to break, let's take a look at some of the other races happening across the state.
And welcome back to our election night coverage.
That's right. We are covering all the races for you across the state. We're going to go to Rebecca Pryor right now, who's covering the race of Johnny Olszewski and Pat McDonough.
Hey guys, I'm here at CVP in Towson. I'm sure you can hear the music is still bumping. The energy is high. However, we are starting to see the crowd clear out here a little bit. Take a look. Still a good amount of people at this downtown sports bar, though, and the majority of those who left, they're not calling it a night. Many of them said that they'd be leaving to attend Wes Moore's watch party in the city. Olszewski will be reporters currently, though, and formally addressed them about an hour ago, declaring himself the winner tonight, during which he said that he is optimistic for the future. He's proud of the work that they've done over the last 4 years. He's looking forward to what's ahead. We have a quick clip of that speech tonight. Take a listen.
Tonight, friends, we gather from all over Baltimore County, this region, and our beloved state to celebrate our success and to proclaim that after analyzing key results, we fully expect to win this race. We continue to deliver on our promises from 4 years ago, literally and figuratively building a better Baltimore County.
Now, the AP hasn't officially called this race yet. At last check, the numbers are comfortably in Olszewski's favor, though. With 58% reporting, Olszewski is 18 points ahead of challenger Republican Pat McDonough. Now, I talked to McDonough before those results started to roll in. Initially, he was saying he wasn't sure if he was going to accept them or challenge them. He said he had to speak with his lawyers and his press people. Now, I did just get off the phone with one of his press persons, and now they're saying because the margins are so significant, 18 points ahead, that Pat McDonough is conceding. So it looks like Baltimore County will get another 4 years of Johnny Olszewski as Baltimore County executive. Reporting live in Baltimore County, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. And stay with Fox 45 News. Our election coverage will continue throughout the night. As we head to break, we're going to take a look at some other races across the state. Stay with us. Our coverage continues. We're looking at that Howard County executive race right now.
That's right. Looks like with 92% of the precincts reporting Calvin Ball, who's right there behind Amy Simpson. Amy hugging somebody. Amy's been covering this race all day. Amy.
Yes, So in this rematch of the same race from 4 years ago, it appears we'll have quite the similar outcome. We're here in Columbia tonight at the Howard County Democratic Committee's watch party. The incumbent Democratic County Executive Calvin Ball has recently declared victory in this race. Quite a celebratory mood in the room here in Columbia. Mr. Ball is just to my right here, greeting supporters, taking photos tonight. But he has declared victory in this race over Republican challenger Alan Kittleman. Kittleman served as county executive from 2014 to 2018, but was defeated by Ball 4 years ago. And when I spoke to Kittleman earlier tonight, he thought it was possible this race would not be called tonight, mentioning more than 16,000 mail-in ballots that still needed to be counted. But Ball did arrive here about 45 minutes ago, speaking to his supporters, and declared victory. Take a listen.
But this victory notes that there were other things on the ballot. Character was on the ballot. Perseverance was on the ballot. Resilience was on the ballot.
And so tonight it is just about 11:20, almost 11:30 tonight, so 3+ hours after the polls have closed. All but 9 Election Day precincts are reporting here in Howard County. Right now, incumbent Democratic County Executive Calvin Ball with 55% of the vote. We'll continue to track this throughout the night, but he has claimed victory thus far. We're live in Columbia. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. You know what I kind of liked about Calvin Ball? He was still working the room.
He was working the room.
Everybody. He's,
hugging people. And
sometimes the candidates go behind the scenes and leave, but he was thanking everyone. All right, now we're going to focus on one of really the most competitive county executive races that we have seen, and that's in Anne Arundel County. The number's very close.
That's right. Arielle Creighton is there. She's with the campaign right now of Stuart Pittman, I believe. Riel, what's going on there?
Yes. Well, the party is just really wrapping up here tonight at the Pittman campaign. Although there was a very happy atmosphere, a lot of dancing in here, and they're very happy. Although there's very little information at the moment about what is actually happening in this race. So far, we're hearing there's only about 21% reporting. Jessica Hare with a very slight lead. She was telling us earlier today that she felt like they had the momentum coming into this race and that they were up in the polls. Stuart Pittman saying exactly the opposite. They say that there was a higher than expected even proportion of Democratic vote that turned out in those early and mail-in ballots. Stuart Pittman spoke here from the podium, very happy, thrilled about the night. This is what he had to say.
We raised the bar for what public service means in this county, and people noticed that. And it was a grassroots campaign. We had way less money last time than the opponent, and this time actually I've had a whole lot less money than my opponent this time. But it's been a grassroots campaign of people who mobilized because that's how we governed.
Well, the one thing that Stuart Pittman said from the podium is that they can do the math, and he says, based on that early and Democratic vote, there is not a path to victory for his opponent. But, of course, they're buckling in for what could be a long night, not because of the margins that they're expecting in this race, but because of how slowly that reporting is coming in from Anne Arundel County. Reporting live in Annapolis tonight, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
All right, Riel, thank you. Let's leave nothing to chance, right?
Exactly.
Anything can happen. All right, stay with Fox 45 News. Our election coverage will continue throughout the night.
As we head to break, we're going to take a look at some of the other races across the state. There you see it. Voters want an independent board that oversees our independent IG.
True.
Going to ask David Williams, it is a good thing for the city of Baltimore, then?
It really is, because people are involved in the process, and that's what we want more of. And people say government works very slowly. It doesn't in this case, because applications for the Citizens Advisory Board will be on the OIG website probably by noon tomorrow. So this is going to move quickly. Isabel Cumming, she moves, and she's very decisive, and this is fantastic, right? People are going to have a voice in the Inspector General, and I hope this is a model. That's my dream here, is that Baltimore City becomes a model of good for the rest of the country instead of some of the negative news that's coming out. But yes, tomorrow, go on the OIG website, probably around noon, and if you want to be on the advisory board, there you go. Fill out an application.
She spoke with Mary and I a number of times, and she said publicly she loves this city, and she wants integrity to be here in the city and through her office.
She takes beautiful pictures on Twitter.
Really quickly, Doug Gansler, I want to get you in here. I got to get this. We really haven't done much on this. There could be a change in the name of the court system for the highest court in Maryland. Can you explain it real quick, and where are the numbers on this? Do you have any idea?
It's been a long time coming. So our court system, you have district court, which is sort of misdemeanor, circuit court, which is kind of felonies at the trial level. Then you have something called the Court of Special Appeals, and then the Court of Appeals. Most states call their Court of Appeals the Supreme Court. I clerked on the Court of Appeals. I've spent the last 30-something years saying, well, I clerked on the Court of Appeals, which is really the Supreme Court. So now on the ballot, there's something to say, we're going to change the name to make it consistent with most people's knowledge. I would hope people voted for it. I haven't seen the numbers yet.
All right, sounds good. Thank you to all of our panel of experts tonight for your expertise, your input. We couldn't do it without you.
And your humor.
Thank you. And your humor. Stay with us. Fox 45 News. Our election coverage will continue in just a moment. We'll be right back. Well, our Vote 2022 coverage is coming to an end.
The results are in for many of the state's biggest races, although there are some mail-in ballots that still need to be counted.
Of course. In the race for governor, we have the projected winner as Wes Moore with 60% of the vote over Republican Dan Cox.
In the race for state comptroller, Brooke Learman appears to be the winner over Republican Barry Glassman. She's a Democrat.
In the race for attorney general, we have Democrat Anthony Brown over Republican Michael Peruka. And that is all for your Vote 2022 coverage tonight.
Did we have fun today, Mary?
It was much easier than normal election nights, truth be told.
It was dynamite. All right, complete live election coverage, though, continues tomorrow morning on Fox 45 Morning News. We want you to be right here starting at 4:30 a.m., including the latest numbers overnight wins and losses, and expert analysis as well.
That's right. Thank you so much for watching tonight. I'm Mary Bubala.
I'm Kai Jackson. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.